Welcome to another edition of Everybody Hates Cleveland, the podcast, joined, as always, by my co-hosts, my partners, my fellow writers at everybodyhatescleveland.com, Michael Hattery and Steve Orbanek. Today we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, in particular focusing our attention on Kyrie Irving's scintillating 55-point performance against Portland earlier this week, as well as a recent game last night in which the Cavs played one of their better games all year, all around. Kevin Love played extremely well. LeBron James tempered 19 points back in the lineup. We'll also talk David Blatt, how he's connecting with this team, if at all, a piece that Steve pointed out in his 10 observations today. Blatt and LeBron James in separate interviews once again sounding as though they are not on the same page. We'll take a closer look at David Blatt and a look at tonight's game with Kevin Love returning to Minnesota, and of course Steve's favorite son, Andrew Wiggins, the Cavalier that was not, but he hopes someday will be. We'll talk about Wiggins. We'll talk about the trolling that the Timberwolves have done to Kevin Love, which should make tonight's game fairly interesting in and of itself. But before we get into that, let me pull in my friends, Michael Hattery, Steve Orbanek. Gentlemen, how you guys doing on this fine, chilly, brisk January day? The final day of January, if you can believe it.
Doing good, doing good. Final day. This has been, what a month it's been for the Cleveland Cavaliers, by the way. You know, just think about that, guys. Where we were at the beginning of this month with this team to where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, I think 3 weeks ago people were talking about Kevin Love next summer, and right now we're talking about how good this Cavs team looks right now. So that's very, very nice to be talking about.
And I suppose, who's had the better month? The Cavaliers or the Cleveland Indians?
Well, the Cleveland Indians promotional schedule, that made for a pretty good month. The release, I think they got some pretty good promotions, so I'll give them that.
The Terry Francona bobblehead, I mean, come on, that's dope. With the scooter, Steve, you gotta love that.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. And for those out there listening or watching this podcast, the best part about the Terry Francona bobblehead doll is within like 1 minute of each other, I got a tweet from each of these guys. Steve questioning the Tito, and Hattery loving the Tito. So that just shows you how much on the same page we are here at EHC.
You know what's the more funny thing about that is, forget about our opinions. We're all texting each other about a promotional schedule.
Very true. Well, here's the best part, and I know we're going to be talking about the Cavs, but before we segue into that, the best part about the Indians, you guys know how I am when they don't make moves. I've written several rant pieces, 3,000 words or longer, slamming them for not doing anything. They've done nothing this offseason, and I just think it's awesome.
Yeah. They're going to go win a division title. I mean, we just get to wait. I'm excited to wait for that. Can't wait.
And on a side note, MLB.com and MLB Network, I did notice what you did today. You omitted Corey Kluber, and I don't care if it was a mistake by posting last year's top 10 for this year's top 10, but you had Cliff Lee number 3 and Corey Kluber not on the list. We saw it, and I ranted about it, and you tried to make me look crazy. And believe me, I can make myself look crazy enough, like putting this in this podcast. But let's move on from that. Before we get started today, just a couple of notes. Bring in the business here. Now, if you haven't checked out our website, make sure you check it out, www.everybodyhatescleveland.com. You can also check out several of our other sites. Check us out on Twitter at EVRYBDYHatesCLE. Check us out at Google Plus at plus.google.com/plus Everybody Hates Cleveland, or check out our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Everybody Hates Cleveland. Join us, follow us. We're an up-and-coming site for sure, with lots of big things for 2015, not to mention the fact that we're going to be podcasting at least every weekend, but hopefully a lot more than that. So check us out on our YouTube channel. Check us out on our Google Plus, and of course you can also listen to these things live on the weekends. Pay attention. We'll start scheduling them so you can, plan your schedule. I'm sure there's nothing you'd want more than to plan months ahead for these just absolutely fantastic podcasts with the three of us as we go forward.
That's
that said, gentlemen, let's
ideal Saturday afternoon.
This is what I'm saying. Well, and wait till we start busting into the pop culture. As Hattery and I have got these West Wing things planned, but we'll get into that as the year progresses. Kyrie Irving, 55 points. This is me talking very little and letting you talk very much. Steve, you were hitting me with text after text after text during this game. Kyrie Irving, 55. What's it mean to you guys?
It's I say this, and we've said this before. I think if anything, it cements this guy is a special player. And not that he wasn't already, but when you score that type of points, that is elite company. Very few NBA players can do that. Now, I have to temper what I'm saying because, of course, Mo Williams, we know, did score 52 this year, and I like Mo Williams. Don't get me wrong, but so I'm sure there are outliers where this type of thing happens, but we all know Kyrie Irving is different. He's something special. The most special thing about it was they needed all 55 of those points to win. If he doesn't do that, I'm not sure they win that game. It was against the very good Portland ball club. It was one of those things I'm not going to forget. I remember some of LeBron's biggest games. I think back to almost all those. That's how this one is to me, too. It was kind of that player taking that next step. And what's scary to me, as we sit here and talk about this, is he's only 22. And beyond that, do you guys believe, and I'm sorry to throw us all under the bus, but I'm going under the bus with you. I'm crawling under this bus with both of you, all right? So I'm bringing you guys down with me, though. About exactly a year ago at this time, we stood here potting about how Dion Waiters might be better than Kyrie Irving, at least better at leading the offense, better. It's just that's surreal to me. That's a good point here. How far he's come.
I still love Dion.
Yeah, Dion Waiters is my boy, but think about how far we've come and how far Irving's come offensively. Defensively, he's picked up this transition so quick, as opposed to Dwayne Wade even in Miami playing alongside James. It's, there's going to come a time if this team stays together where I think the real leader, the real best player on the team is going to be Irving. Now, we're still years away from that, but he's offering you glimpses of this is an elite player, an elite level scorer in the NBA.
Yeah. I think that's why we watch sports, because we, once every 5 years we get to run into a performance like that. That's why you watch Game 40, Game 45, Game 47, Game 52, and it was, I would say, the most impressive thing that I've gotten to watch in a while since I got to watch Corey Kluber this summer. It was just an electric performance. But to me, when Kyrie Irving started making the next step, was something else that happened during the streak, and I don't want to cover territory too much that Terry Pluto covered this morning. A really strong column about Kyrie's defense, but the NBA is a league that is just littered with really, really good point guard play. And over the past month, Kyrie's been matched up with a lot of these guys, and the way he's played defensively compared to last season is leaps and bounds better. That has made this team so much better. And whether that's having Mozgov helping with rim protection, or whether they're just playing better unit defense, which Blatt may not be getting enough credit for. He has looked so much better defensively. And honestly, I think he's kind of given unfair criticism by national media pundits in terms of the progress he's made, because I think it's been really impressive.
Two things step out to me about Kyrie Irving's performance, and one of them has nothing to do with the performance at all. Probably the best scene of the game for me was after he hits that three-point shot. The cameras immediately zoom in to LeBron James, who was like a parent at Christmas. I honestly, seeing that unbridled joy, it was really the first time for me, gentlemen, that I saw the Miami Heat LeBron James, that LeBron James that respected another player, that was proud of another player, that D. Wade love that he showed game after game after game in his time with Miami. Not to say that that's important, but I think looking at the relationship between LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and the rest of this team, David Blatt included, this was really the first time for me that LeBron James looked like he had meshed himself into this team. The second part of this that impressed me the most is, Steve, you talked about, and both of you guys, Mike as well, talked about the defensive aspect of his game and how he's been different over the past couple of weeks, and this season included. The thing that impressed me the most beyond that was his demeanor on the court. I think the thing that I've been looking forward to, and you heard Kyrie talk about this 2 years ago, was that he was going to become a leader on the court. The one thing that I guarantee you looked different about Kyrie Irving that game, aside from the fact that he scored 55, was how he acted on the court. It was his court. That was his team. He was going to win that game. And it was interesting kind of watching the highlights. I didn't get to see that whole game. I only saw the last quarter. Kyrie Irving looked different. Of course, when you're scoring 55, you're going to look different. But to me, gentlemen, I think maybe LeBron is starting to bring that leadership piece out. Steve, you mentioned him taking over this team in some years down the road. Maybe not necessarily on the bench, but I could see offensively LeBron letting him take over this team offensively maybe sooner than we think.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that too is, Kyrie's such a special scorer, and he, to be honest, he's a great point guard, and he is still, But the thing is, as good of a point guard as Kyrie Irving is he ever going to be a better point guard than LeBron James? And he probably isn't. The offense is always going to run better with LeBron. LeBron's a better passer. He is. He has a natural feel. But so that's kind of to your point, Jim, that, yeah, I could see that. I could see a point where the primary scoring guy becomes Irving, where you see him take on that role, even more so than James. And maybe we're not as far away from that as we think. Like I said, I have to keep telling myself, Irving's 22 until, March 22nd, I believe is his birthday. He's a whole, 7 months younger than Michael Carter-Williams, the reigning NBA Rookie of the Year. And that's one thing we forget is that, a lot of guys coming to the league are still, right around Irving's age. And look at what he's doing so far. It's something special to see. And it's going to be, something to watch. And also, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's why they were, they weren't hesitant to deal Wiggins for Love. And what I mean by that is, do you see a scenario where there'd be enough scoring to go around for, say, a budding Wiggins, a budding Irving, and a LeBron James in his peak? Those are the primary scorers. I don't know if they need any more scoring, to be quite honest with you. I think there's going to be a time where Irving will take on that role. I just don't know when it is, but time will come where he's going to be the primary scorer on this ball club.
Yeah, and one point too. I think if LeBron was about 2 inches taller, he'd probably be the best center, the best power forward, the best swingman, the best point guard on the team. So I think Steve made a great point. But I also don't want to be unfair to Kyrie as a true point guard, and I have had this proclivity to do so in the past. Just because the last couple of years we've seen him surrounded by Tweedledee, Tweedledum, Tweedlebrick. And ultimately, I think the issue is that, we always criticize Irving as a passer, and he's improved, and he's a lot better. And it's not necessarily that he improved. It's probably that he was just surrounded by nothing he could work with. So I think it's, really important to state how much better his overall game has looked. Defensively, passing the ball, and they're just so much fun to watch play basketball right now. And he buys in now. He buys into Blatt, and that's huge. This is great.
And to go off that, Mike, that's one of the keys is you can tell he's buying into Blatt. He's the one who is repeatedly said, my coaching staff's putting me in position, so forth. I mean, did you hear him after the game? If anything, he's probably one of the first players to have bought into Blatt, and I think that's helped. And that will continue to help as Blatt grows into this role, and other players will see that. Hopefully, it'll rub off.
Well, you talk about Blatt, and we'll segue towards that a bit. Maybe even more impressive than the 55-point performance was the overall Cavs performance last night. winning their 9th in a row. And what impressed me the most about the game last night was it was clearly a game where Kevin Love was playing much better, had a much better game, 23 points, I believe, 10 boards. Looked more like the Kevin Love from last year and years past. But even more impressive than that to me were the minutes. If you look at the box score of the minutes, I think actually J.R. Smith led the team in minutes. I think he was pushing 37. Past that, though, we had LeBron James at a much more manageable 33 minutes, especially coming off that injury. I think Kyrie was the only other player over 30, and then a slew of players under 30. This is more or less what LeBron James was complaining about last year, at the tail end of last year, if you're to believe some of the reports that LeBron was mostly concerned about the amount of minutes that he was played, especially with a declining D. Wade getting a lot of time off. Could this be the best scenario for the Cavaliers? Are we finally at that point that the Cavs are able to shift these minutes? Is the biggest deal with this acquisition of Mozgov with Iman Shumpert and, of course, J.R. Smith, is the biggest piece of this a combination of both their ability on the court and their ability to spell the front line? J.R. Smith played the most minutes the other night, and this guy wasn't even on the team 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think the fit of this is so much better. You know, having a true center allows the Cavaliers to protect both Love and LeBron a lot more. This is because I think they can be a lot more creative with how they run their lineups. What we can see is a Mozgov, Thompson, Love lineup where Love is more of a perimeter player, and it pushes him defensively, but for short stretches you can do it. And having Shumpert, who can defend a 3 and a 2, is absolutely huge, as well as J.R. Smith, who can kind of run the point a little bit, and so can Shumpert when they need to. So I think there are so many more creative units you can run. Having a true center allows Love and LeBron to do things and get rest that they haven't been able to do, even with Varejao, because ultimately he just can't defend the rim. And one's just a little greedy to dream of what this team would look like if Varejao could ever stay on the court, which is unfortunate because that would be an unstoppable collection of rebounders. I would love to see Thompson, Love, and Varejao crashing the boards with Mozgov protecting the rim. But that's for another season. But I think the fit is so much better. I think they protect the minutes well, and I love seeing Kevin Love put up 23 and 10 in 29 minutes.
And, you know, that's something, Mike, to kind of dream about for next year. A return of Varejao. You know, what type of potential is this team going to have? You know, like you said, this Mozgov's totally changed the dynamic. And you're right, he can do stuff that, as much as we love Andy, we love Tristan, love their effort, they just can't defend the rim like a true center, like Mozgov can. You know what's startling to me, guys, is, you know, and I mentioned today, Shumpert still isn't even in shape. You know, I mean, he's still working his way back. It's going to take probably another 2 weeks, I would say, or so, you know, before he's fully integrated into the rotation. They're only going to get better. And not just that, eventually they're going to add another piece, be it a Ray Allen or be it who I would like, you know, a Jordan Farmer, who is going to help even more, you know, and that's another guy who...
Rumors circulating, Steve. You can't leave out the rumors.
Mo Williams.
Mo Williams!
Is that your rumor you're talking about?
Well, not only Mo Williams, but Cleveland.com mentioned your boy.
My boy?
Ramon Sessions, my friend.
Sessions, yeah, of course, Sessions. You know, needless to say, my point is they're going to get a very good, more hopefully,
Imagine either one of those guys as the backup point guard. I mean, this team isn't what we're going to see come April. This is the best part about all this, is we're not even there yet.
No, I agree. And imagine if they get one of those guys, a Mo Williams, a Ramon Sessions, a Farmer. All those guys are high-quality NBA-level point guards. You know, they're not stars, but those are quality rotational point guards, guys who can give Irving a breather here or there. But the best thing about that is then you maximize Dellavedova's minutes. You have a guy that he's going to be coming in between 10 to 12 minutes, going to be scrappy, mostly focusing on defense. Because if this is nitpicking, but if I need to, it is Dellavedova might be still getting a little bit too many minutes, and I like him. We all do. But we know that let's be honest, he's going to be best served with about 10 to 12 minutes, manning down on his guy. That's how he needs to be utilized. Getting another point guard, that's going to help that. It just lengthens the team even more. And we've seen, since we've acquired Shumpert, J.R. Smith, and Mozgov, we've seen the depth already come into play. And this team, is finally getting a rotation that fits. It's only going to get better.
Yeah, Go ahead, Mike.
I feel like we're a little too harsh on Dellavedova, and I think one of the reasons is if we went down to the Y and played rec league basketball, we probably couldn't pick him out. At least, if we just looked and we were picking teams of people we had never seen before, we'd be like, that guy looks kind of shrimpy. I know he's 6'3", but he's such a soft-faced baby little boy. I like Delly. I think he's worth 12 minutes team. Anyway, go ahead.
No, he's the Cavaliers' version of Michael Hattery, my friend, of EHC's Michael Hattery.
See,
Baby
Michael...
face.
We love you, man. That's why we love you. There's nobody I'd rather look at. I mean, here's who I have to look at today: the babyface Michael Hattery and our very own Hugh Laurie, Steve Orban.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
shout
out. I'm hoping that guy's watching us right now. By the way,
show him. Do me a favor, Steve. Can you put your hands in front of the upper part of your head? I want to get the nose down. Look at that. That's Hugh Laurie right there. You need to talk with a British accent. Is he British?
I believe he is. He is, correct? Yes. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
But Mike,
British accent is odd, though. His British accent is really odd. I've been watching Friends, and there's an episode, and it seems like he's faking his British accent, even though he's British. Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I don't know enough about the British. I don't know. Maybe we should do an episode where we all do British accents.
Yeah, I would fail that. That said, I want to get back to this Dellavedova point, though, to Michael. Listen, I am vouching for 10 to 12 minutes for Delly. I think he's worth that. But right now, he's averaging 21 minutes a night. You don't think that's a little bit too much Dellavedova? Too much of a good thing?
Over the past 10 games or over the season?
On the season, I don't know.
Because I think if you make the data more recent, it's not quite as bad. He
was
I think they're finding balance.
That Sacramento game, he was in 16. I think 16, 17 minutes. There wasn't. That's probably if that's his peak minutes, that's pretty good. I'd be content with that.
Yeah, no, I would too. I mean, it's I like him. We all like him. He's a perfectly fine player. I mean, I don't mean to be tough on him. He's just I don't want him getting 20 minutes a game. We'll see. It'd be interesting to see how much he has been playing in this streak.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And the best piece written about Matthew Dellavedova that I've seen so far was a piece that Brendan Bowers, formerly of WFNY, currently writing for lots of different places, but he put this up in slamonline.com. He spent a Saturday, I believe it was a Saturday or Sunday, with Dellavedova in the West Side Market in Cleveland, which more or less sums up who Matthew Dellavedova is, why he's so likable. How many NBA players could you see hanging out with an NBA reporter at the West Side Market? This isn't something. Could you imagine LeBron doing that?
No, that's no. I like him. No, listen, guys, I did pull up the numbers.
Ramon Sessions would do that. Ramon Sessions would do that.
Oh, Lil Duval, Ramon Sessions, him and I chilled before. Last 9 games for Delly, 16 minutes, 9 wins, okay? 60 minutes, maybe a little bit too much, we could probably live with that. Now here's another, I'm going to paint a picture for you guys, all right? In the 10 games before that, when they lost 9 of 10 games, he was averaging 26 minutes per game. Case in point, a little bit too much Dellavedova.
True. Out of necessity, though, I would say.
It was. Oh, it was. It was totally out of necessity.
All right, let's move away from Delly and let's move into tonight's game. More importantly, probably the most fun about this game was the promo video that the Minnesota Timberwolves put out this past week, promoting the return of the Cleveland Cavaliers, in particular a former Timberwolves player. This build-up video talked about a player who left and is coming back, and It was a great piece that led to what everybody assumed would be Kevin Love's return. Unfortunately, it wasn't Kevin Love. They are promoting the return of one Mike Miller, who played one season there and was really bad when he was there. What do you guys make? You talked about this, Steve, this trolling today of Kevin Love. This should be fun. Mike, let's start off with you though. This is something that we're not used to, I guess. We steal the players and now getting trolled by other teams. This is kind of what we were dealing with for 4 years with LeBron in Miami. How much are you looking forward to this game in Minnesota tonight? What do you expect from probably the two guys that will be watched the most are Kevin Love and former, I guess, Cav, Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah, I found this to be just, we were frustrated. We burned jerseys, but the Cavs organization never pulled this crap. I mean, this is just embarrassing for a franchise to market a game like this. I found it to be one of the most inherently disrespectful things I've seen in pro sports in like 5 years, and this kind of goes to how the Timberwolves owners handled Kevin Love leaving. He's openly criticized Love upon dealing him. He criticized his defensive ability, despite the fact that he's the only person that could get butts in seats in Minnesota for the last 5 years. He played really hard. He was one of the 10 best players in the NBA over the span. He kept a team that's now winning like 15% of their games at like 50% of their games with not a lot of talent around them, kind of like Kevin Garnett did for the 20 years before him. So this is just a shameful move. Never seen a more disrespectful move, and they should be embarrassed by this guy. What a 5-year-old. Who does that? And Kevin Love will play well, whatever the repercussions are. I'm not worried. He'll have a good season. He'll be playing in the playoffs while the Timberwolves owner can make some glib comments.
Mike, I agree with you for most of that. I do wonder though. I mean, did you guys saw Love's response? I'm sure how he kind of just took it tongue in cheek and just he laughed it off. And actually, almost I guess would say kind of complimented them for how funny they can be, the PR team with the Timberwolves. My thinking is, I kind of have a feeling, and I have no reason to think this, but don't you think that maybe they're going to reveal another video tonight, that it's all just part of a big gag, and they're going to reveal a, kind tribute to him? I have no idea why, but I'm just kind of thinking that maybe they would. And I agree with you, Mike. You never would have seen Gilbert do this, but at the same time, what I didn't like...
He wrote a letter.
What's that?
He wrote a letter, so we can criticize Gilbert too for that. But yeah,
I'm sure these videos maybe crossed his mind once or twice too over the years. I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure. What I was going to say though, with the one thing with the Cavs though is it always annoyed me, and I'm sure you remember, and it was like this way with Fred McLeod, Austin Carr, anyone who made basically was associated with the team. They didn't even talk about LeBron. You know what I mean? I pardon that you. I apologize for this comparison, but it was almost like working for WCW, and back in the day they wouldn't talk about WWF and vice versa. Remember that, Jim? How never would talk about the other company?
That's do recall
how it
that.
Was. Yeah. They didn't even talk. It was like he didn't exist. And that kind of always annoyed me, because it was very, very, very clear, in everything that happened, and maybe that happened even more so because of Gilbert's letter, But yeah, I don't know. I agree with everything you say, Mike. But I just have this feeling. Don't you think that maybe something else is going to be out there tonight? A different video, a nice tribute. I don't know.
The better.
Well,
but he's expecting to get booed when he's in Minnesota, and the ownership has been fairly critical of Love. So I doubt it.
All I care about in this whole thing is there's a small part of me that thinks that perhaps that 23-10 maybe came from this video, which leads me to believe that I could see a scenario where LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love are sitting in the locker room today before the game, and LeBron James looks at Kevin, and Kevin looks at LeBron, and Kyrie gives the little nod, and they start siphoning the ball to Kevin Love.
Let's get you 40 really, today, Kevin.
You look for little things that maybe turn a player. Perhaps this whole team maybe took a turn during that trade. After that trade, maybe that 55-point game was a turning point. Who knows? This winning streak certainly has this Cavs team looking different, but we're still waiting for Kevin Love to turn the corner, and he certainly looked like he turned a corner last night. If healthy, maybe this is what he needed. Maybe he needed someone to kick him in the ass, like the Minnesota Timberwolves. But wouldn't that be ironic? The team that basically pushes him out of town, cements him in Cleveland. That would be kind of cool.
Let's see 55, 56.
That I think we'll all be happy with that as long as they win. Then see if that happens, Steve, your boy Wiggins can score 40 and you can be content.
Okay, yeah. Listen, Wiggins. As long as we get the W, that's all that matters. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap things up here. We didn't quite get to David Blatt. We'll kind of close out with that. Just a couple of quick sentences, gentlemen. Is there any concern about LeBron James and David Blatt not being on the same page? There was that piece today, I believe Varden posted on Cleveland.com, mentioning the fact that they still are on different pages. Is this kind of someone trying to reach too far into the cookie jar with a 9-game winning streak? Is this much ado about nothing, or is this something to be concerned about once we reach crunch time in the playoffs?
I give Varden credit because I thought the story was well done, well written for what it was. But you know what? As you said it best, Jim. When has LeBron ever, openly endorsed a coach, openly had a good relationship with a coach? I mean, he certainly didn't with Silas or Mike Brown. So yeah, I'm not really reading much into it. That's just how it is. I mean, that's it. I see. Give Varden credit. If you want to call this hit whoring, I don't know. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it's getting hits. We're talking about it here. People were talking about it. Hey. Give the guy credit. He succeeded. But I'm not going to make too much of it.
Wow. Hit whoring. Yeah. Wow. No,
we coined terms. Hattery, we coined terms here, my friend. Last week it was you with the intellectual rebounder, and this week we have hit whoring by Steve Orbanek. We got to run with these things.
But, yeah, how can I be worried about this during a 9-game win streak when he's been protected because of his injury, when he's looked good on the court, and when they're finally playing really good team offensive basketball? How am I supposed to read Varden's article today and be like, oh, okay, now I'm really scared. It may be true, but I'm not going to care about it for another 3 months, so let's watch some basketball.
Yeah, it just totally seems like out of place. And the funny thing was, the story comes out just hours after they had what might have been their most dominant win of the year. And what I mean, last night it was kind of sluggish. But, guys, it didn't even look like they were trying at times last night. It was just they were overwhelming Sacramento so much. And that's the thing. It just seems like it's coming together so much. And then you see this. I don't know. I just, but hey, it's generating discussion. So, Varden, give the man that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what he was hired to do. An investigative reporter. It was a well-crafted piece. It is what it is. It's certainly created discussion, which is fine for us. So we have something to.
Who's Joe Varden? Who the heck is Joe Varden though? Before this year, I mean, that sounds bad. Who did he work for the Plain Dealer before? Joe Varden? I never heard about him until this season started.
He did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he worked for the Plain Dealer. I know he's worked for the Plain Dealer in the past. I can't remember the specifics of it. I know he hasn't been in the sports biz. I think for the past 3 years, he's been, I want to say, an investigative reporter for the Plain Dealer, but did write I don't know about the beat, but I know he wrote sports for the Plain Dealer in the past. It's been a while, but I think he's been with the Plain Dealer for a while. They hired. All I can remember about this is they hired Varden, or at least moved him to the Cavs to the LeBron James beat. The same time that other guy, they brought that other guy on board from Portland. Yeah, they brought them both on board at the same time. There's actually a third guy that I can't think of off the top of my head that probably either doesn't bode well for my reading or doesn't bode well for his writing. But this is no intent on a rip to any of the writers at the Plain Dealer. I just there's so many writers out there right now because of generated by LeBron James' return to Cleveland. It's hard to keep them all together. But Varden, I think, has been with the Plain Dealer for a while.
I looked this up. I can't find a story from him before September on the Plain Dealer. I wonder
So
if it was a new hire.
Yeah, maybe it was. I do think that I can almost guarantee that he came from Cleveland, though. But maybe for another time, we'll talk a little Joe Vard. We'll throw Varden in there for more to talk. Maybe we can get him on the show. That'd be great. Let's close things out, gentlemen. Let's close things out with, of course, the thing that Michael Hattery looks forward to every week. I'm gonna actually start it off this week with our plug of the week. I'm going to plug the website one last time. Check us out, www.everybodyhatescleveland.com, and all of our various other entities, including our YouTube channel, Google+, whatever it takes. Just give us a listen, give us a chance. We've got a lot of new things coming, and I do want to push one thing of my own. In December, I wrote a piece on Andrew Wiggins, which seems more appropriate now with them playing tonight. Andrew Wiggins has been treated throughout this season almost like a misfit toy, and I wrote a piece about that in December when Minnesota came into town. Wiggins, who's been treated a lot like Anthony Bennett was treated, I guess in the press at least, as kind of this piece, and potentially could be more than that. So Andrew Wiggins' brief stay on the island of misfit toys. Check it out at EHC.com from December. Let's go over to Steve. We're going to buy some time for Mike. Steve, what do you want to push this week?
You know what? I was actually going to push the same piece that the one you just mentioned. But here's what I want to push. You touched on Josh Gordon this week in an excellent piece, and everyone who knows it. When it comes to just telling a story with his writing, Jim is one of the best. And we didn't get to talk about Josh Gordon at all with this whole letter, so forth. But and your piece is kind of interesting because it was before this letter, and I think a lot of people since reading that letter have had some knee-jerk reactions. But I asked him to kind of go back, look at your piece, which was written before it. I think you tell it like it is. You're harsh, but rightfully so, and I think that's worth a read. It's an interesting thing for another time. We'll get into it, but check out Jim's piece. He just kind of tells it like it is. Very good.
Yeah, I said things about Kipnis, which may or may not be worth reading, and Steve said some good things, or observations, even though, But the TJ House love is something I'm really intrigued by, because I haven't heard this from Steve, but I always have heard it from Jim. So you're going to hear a lot of stuff from us about TJ House in the future, because I'm starting to get hot on the tail of TJ. So check it out.
Yeah, TJ House is most definitely someone who's been on my mind for the past 3 or 4 years. He spent a lot of time in Kinston, and I think maybe we'll dedicate a little more in another pod to TJ House and that pitching rotation specifically, especially with the acquisition of Gavin Floyd. It does make it interesting for House in particular, but also Danny Salazar, Zach McAllister. We have seemingly an overabundance of pitchers, and House seems like the odd man out. But that left-handedness, boy, it makes for an interesting story. I'm not 100% convinced Floyd is going to end up making the rotation, but they did give him that guarantee, so we'll see. That said, gentlemen, we're going to close up shop here at EHC. This is our 9th podcast. We got several more to come. Look for our pods in the future. We should be pretty regular on the weekends, and we're going to have some scheduled times as we move forward. Thanks a lot for joining us, and hey, this one goes out to EC3. Thanks for the intro, my friend, and how about you win a title? All right, guys, we'll see you soon.